Welcome to another edition of Yeehaw or Yee Nah, where I look at a bunch of new country singles. We're doing 18 of them today, so let's just get into it. First up is Summer Dean and Colter Wall with You're Lucky She's Lonely.
You're lucky she's lonely.
This is a funny, sad, steel-filled, and a little bit mournful sounding true blue country hookup song. Basically, a girl is feeling down on her luck, and a guy is maybe trying to exploit that sadness and be the shoulder to cry on and then hook up with her. And it would feel a little bit creepy if it weren't for that last line in the chorus where it keeps being like, just remember, you're lucky she's lonely. It's kind of this self-deprecating attitude that makes the whole thing funny. And the words of this are pretty funny. I'd place your bet on the heartbroke brunette with a Wallen tattoo. She's a maiden of misery. You don't need a white horse or chivalry, so just make your move. You've got nothing to prove. You're lucky she's blue. It sounds great. I wasn't familiar with Summer Dean, but she's got an awesome voice. Colter's voice is obviously awesome. I give it a yeehaw. Then we got Parker McCollum's Drinkin.
Tired of drinking by myself.
This is kind of the inverse of the previous song, and in this one, Parker is drinking, and he's the one feeling lonely, and he just wishes he had someone to drink with. It's kind of got that slow Texas rock sound in the many breakup anthems of Co Wetzel and Colby Cooper and Parker McCollum as well, but there's a lot of electric guitar work on the verses, a lot of steel in the background of the chorus, and then just super simple lyrics, but I think they're very effective. I think Parker's voice communicates that longing really well, which is always what I say his voice does. But if you watch my last video and read those comments, I know there's a lot of guys out there that are lonely and maybe drinking too much and would relate to this chorus, and so I'm giving this a yeehaw. Then we got Miranda Lambert with another new one called They've Closed Down the Honky Tonks.
Oh, they've closed down the honky tonk.
This sounds like it could have been included on the Marfa Tapes project that she just put out with John Randall and Jack Ingram. It's got that same lo-fi, super acoustic feel to it, and Miranda's voice just sounds awesome on this. It sounds so good. I've loved hearing all the texture and expressiveness of her voice that I think sometimes on her big major label albums, you don't get that raw feeling from it because, you know, she likes some production, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this song, it's about kind of the pandemic year and how all the honky tonks were closed down, Billy Bob's and the Blue Light, and she's naming all these big Texas honky tonks. And it's just kind of cool to hear her sing about that. And maybe she's dropping this now because she's opening her own bar down in Nashville. I know it just had her like Tex-Mex Cantina just had a soft opening down there. So maybe that's why she's putting this out, but I love it. It sounds great. I'm here for this kind of stripped back Miranda. So another yeehaw. Then we've got Gary Allan with another comeback single, Temptation.
Always be that one mistake I gonna be almost making.
I love Gary Allan. I absolutely love his gravelly voice. He's been trying to make a comeback for a few years now, and he most recently dropped that song, I think it's called Waste of a Whiskey Drink. Now he's got this new song, Temptation, and he's actually coming out with an album called Ruthless. The cover definitely gives me Turnpike Troubadours vibes with kind of that skeleton horse. But I gotta say, I think this song, Temptation, is sort of odd. The sound of it feels almost vaguely inspirational because we've got this big string section, but the words of it are about how he's tempted to cheat, but he's not ultimately going to go through with an affair. It's only going to be a temptation. But then the sound of it kind of feels like a Today Show package about cancer survivors. Sometimes that dichotomy of tone and lyrics really works to me, but in this case it feels like a mismatch. But there are some cool rhythmic elements to how he delivers it, and so I will give this one a yee. And then we have the new single from Yola, Diamond Studded Shoes.
Diamond-studded shoes without taxes. Anything to keep.
Speaking of confusing tones, here's a song that has Yola sounding really upbeat, but actually delivering lyrics that are very suspicious. She's hearing all these people say they want this united society, but she's not really sure that the super rich people with their diamond-studded shoes actually want that. You know, they say there's going to be change, but she keeps saying like, we know it isn't, and that's why we have to fight. And so it's interesting to hear a protesty song sound so upbeat and soulful. She definitely is going more in the soul direction than kind of the country side, where if you listen to Yola's debut album, and it's awesome, it was kind of this balance of country and soul with songs like Ride Out in the Country that I absolutely loved. At least judging from this single, it sounds like she's going much more in a blues and soul direction for this record, and more power to to her if she wants to. I give the song a light yeehaw, but I hope we still get some country elements because I love hearing just her crazy good voice. She can go low, she can belt, but often I feel like she restrains herself, and you can just tell that there's power behind her voice, and that's kind of what makes her an exciting vocalist. But anyway, I like hearing her deliver country, and I hope she does on this album. Then we got Walker Hayes featuring Jake Owen on Country Stuff.
I like shooting ducks and bucks. I like mud tires on my truck.
Walker Hayes is back to haunt us with his breathy talk singing about nonsense, this time about country stuff that he loves, whether that's mud on his big truck or hunting ducks or Dukes of Hazzard. It's one of those checklist songs that's trying to tell you about how country it is, and yet the sound of the song and its production, the delivery style of it, and even kind of the visuals around it completely abandon that idea. This feels as synthetic as something that was created in a laboratory. I mean, Walker Hayes says in the behind the scenes of this song that he wrote it in a massage chair, not in a duck blind, you know? And far be it from me to tell someone what's country and what's not, or who's country and who isn't, but like, come on, we have eyes, we have ears, and you can't fool us this easily. Or I don't know, maybe you can. Like, I have one of the top comments on Hardy's video for Unapologetically Country as Hell because I was obsessed with that song from the moment it came out. And I posted this little glib comment that says, I've never related to a song less but loved a song more. And pretty much every day I get a response to that comment from someone being like, you're a city slicker, or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that was kind of the joke. And hey, maybe this song is for those people that clearly like being pandered to, that would prefer someone not country telling you about how country they are. For me though, it gets a yee nah. Then we got Cody Johnson and Willie Nelson with Sad Songs and Waltzes.
It's a good thing that I'm not a star.
I don't know if this is an official radio single or if this is just kind of a novelty song that Cody Johnson wanted to release. It's actually a cover of an old Willie Nelson song, and they just sound awesome on it. Cody Johnson's voice, man, every time I've taken a little break from Cody Johnson and then returned to him, you remember how just resonant and rich his voice is. Willie Nelson, you know, his voice isn't as there as it used to be, but I feel like there's a lot of artists that are jumping at the chance to collaborate with him since it seems like he's maybe near the end of his life, and I don't blame Cody Johnson for doing so. I feel like this song feels like a little sad, lonely cowboy song. It's delivered well, and I'm excited for Cody Johnson's upcoming music, so I just really like this one, and I give it a yeehaw. After that, we got Tenille Arts with Back Then, Right Now.
Come on, take me back, 'cause I could use a little
Tenille Arts recently had that really long climb to #1 with her song Somebody Like That, so this is the follow-up, and it's kind of going to be the test case of can she establish herself as a new country star, and I honestly think that this song will be pretty darn successful. It's your standard kind of nostalgia trip summer song where she's thinking back to how times were easier when she was a little bit younger, riding around out in the country, listening to John Deere Green, and saying she could use a little bit of back then right now. I'm not going to say it's the most creative lyric, I'm not going to say it's the countryest thing in the world, but I think this song is a pretty good version of what pop country can be. I actually think the sound of it is much more instrumental than Somebody Like That, and I think her vocals are delivered pretty excitingly when she says stuff like hallelujah, and you kind of get that echo on it.
I could sing a little map-tied hallelujah.
I think some of the production choices on this really save it from feeling kind of bland. So I think I would give it like a decent yee, and I think Tenille Arts is more interesting than she might seem if you are someone that's like, Grady, this just looks like just pop country trash. Her album last year, which had a long title that was like Love and Heartbreak and Everything in Between, or something like that, it was actually like surprisingly really good. And so I hear what you're saying with the singles, but I also think give her a chance. Then we got Flatland Cavalry's new single, Some Things Never Change.
I should've known you'd be here dancing to a fiddle song.
So this is the first one off their upcoming album, Welcome to Countryland, and like all Flatland Cavalry songs do, this one feels super friendly and pleasing and a little bit hopeful. They just have the most inviting sound with that beautiful fiddle running all through it, but still enough of kind of a driving rock sound that you don't get bored. I don't think the song is perfect. I think there's a couple sort of strange lines in the chorus where we're going for this idea of how some things never change, but sometimes we're singing about how, you know, like the lightning still lights up the drops of rain, some things never change. And that's a cool image, this idea that lightning is illuminating the raindrops, But I also feel like that's not one of those old hat images of just like, oh, every jukebox is going to have a Joe Diffie song on it. But at the same time, I appreciate that we kind of stay in naturalistic imagery every time we go through the chorus, first with lightning, then with a bonfire, then with sunshine. So it's kind of good writing at the same time. I also love the sound of Cleto's voice. I love its inherent gentleness and kind of curiosity, but something about the way it was recorded, I don't love on this. He feels almost like far away from the band or too quiet. I re-listened to One I Want and he was so much higher up in the mix, and I kind of wish that were there, or that like he had to sing more to a metronome, because some of the little words get eaten here and there. So I'm nitpicking because they're like Hello, like one of my favorite bands ever. They really kind of brought me over into the Texas side of country music, but I think I'm still going to give it a light yeehaw, and I'm just so excited to hear more. Then we got another one from Jaden Hamilton. This one's called Heaven's Jukebox.
I hope it's filled up with country songs.
I'm still really intrigued by Jaden Hamilton. I feel like I'm investing early in his career. His voice actually really reminds me of Parker McCollum, but his sound kind of reminds me closer to John Party. Maybe he's some sort of like halfway between those two. And as you might expect, given that comparison, we got some steel, some fiddle, some nice drums on this. It's just a fun song about kind of hoping that there is country music up in heaven, and if heaven's got a jukebox, that's where he wants to be, kind of drinking a beer and still listening to country music up there. Although if most of the music up in heaven is going to be worship songs, I don't know how many like Wallen songs are going to be on that jukebox. We could get some Johnny Cash, some of Johnny Cash's later career work. That might be what plays up there. I don't know. But either way, I'm giving this song a yeehaw. Then we got another new one from Jesse Daniel, who was one of my favorites of last year. This one's called Think I'll Stay.
2 steps forward and 1 step back. We were moving to the rhythm.
This one is just so flirty and fun and kind of noodly. Like, I say I really like Steel a lot, but typically on a song you just get this kind of like slow bending like, but on this one it's like, I don't know why I'm performing Steel for you. I could just say it moves a lot faster. It's very complex and it's very fun. The lyrics are kind of about 2-stepping forward and taking 1 step back, and you kind of got these little dance puns in there. It's got all that kind of fun Bakersfield romping vibe that Jesse Daniel is really good at, and this song definitely gets a yeehaw from me, and I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. Then we got the new single from Chris Lane, Fill Them Boots.
Girl, it's time to move on, scoot on over. You looking like
You know how I said it was that little touch of self-deprecation that kind of saves the Colter Wall song from seeming creepy? This song has none of that. This is just a dude spotting a girl that's a little bit heartbroken and being like, I gotta make my move. And he's saying like, that guy that left you, I can fill them boots. I can fill them boots. It's a little bit repetitive and it definitely feels a little bit douchey. Maybe that's just, judging a book by its cover with Chris Lane, although I liked a lot more of Chris Lane's last album than I thought I would, so I don't really do that. Still, as an artist, I feel like he's just kind of nondescript to me. I don't feel like he's got one thing he really wants to say. I don't feel like his voice is that distinct, and when you put a kind of, I think, more regular voice up against Joey Moy production, which is a lot, it kind of feels super generic to me. Like, I feel like there's enough power and rasp in Morgan Wallen's voice or in Hardy's voice or even in someone like Tyler Hubbard's voice that can kind of like cut through some of that production, but I feel like the production kind of runs the show on a Chris Lane song. So it's really not the worst sound ever, but I think I'd just give it like a light yee nah. And I know he's putting out a bunch of music. I really liked that song Summer Job Money. I thought that was a creative concept for a song, and it was the same writing duo that did 865, which was one of my favorites off of Dangerous. Then there's a song by a newcomer named Callista Clark called It's 'Cause I Am.
I can't help it, I'm one of a kind. I'm more than meets the
Now look, I know nothing about this girl. I don't know if she's like 13 or like 20, because her photos make her look very, very young sometimes. I get the sense she's a really good guitar player because there's a lot of cool guitar work on this song, and it's kind of bratty in a fun way. But the reason I'm talking about it is just because I've noticed it keeps getting more and more airplay on radio and more stations adding it into rotation, and I think it just got selected as an on the verge selection. And that means basically that stations are gonna have to play it more. I think the song's pretty fun. I don't think it's anything that special, but as kind of an introduction to her, I feel like I'm getting a sense of her guitar skills. I really like when it switches into falsetto on the chorus at the kind of last line of each thing. I think that makes it a lot more interesting and breaks up this sort of jaunty pop country song. I think I'd give it like a I don't know, a strong yee. After that is the song 23 by Chayce Beckham.
Now I'm 23 and there ain't nobody who can drink like me.
I was a loyal watcher of American Idol for like 15 or 16 years. I have not been watching the new seasons, and the ratings are literally like 20% of what they used to be. However, a bunch of people have mentioned that this guy Chayce Beckham just won the new season, and that I should listen to this song 23 that he released, and damn, I was kind of surprised by it. Like, if I had just heard this song in a vacuum and a bunch of people were buzzing about it, I would be like, oh, I know exactly who the audience for this song is. Oh, I bet fans of Whiskey Myers would love this song, or even kind of like old Colter Wall. It has like a bit of outlaw energy about how, man, he was drinking way too much at 23. He doesn't even know if he's going to make it to 24. And the sound of it's like super bassy and cool and dark. So the fact that this is an American Idol winning single is hilarious to me. Like, what happened to the days of This Is My Now and No Boundaries and Chasing That Magic Rainbow? I don't know, but somehow we are getting this gravelly voice kind of outlaw energy from Idol, which is just hilarious. So I'm giving this a yeehaw. And then just to touch on a couple other songs that I don't think are official single releases, Luke Combs recently debuted a new song at the Opry called Joe. This is a song about a guy winning his battle with alcoholism. It's a really pretty song. It's not the most complex thing in the world. Luke sounds great on it. Yeehaw. Another one played at the Opry was Carly Pearce and her song Dear Loretta. I'm so glad Carly Pearce is sticking with this 29 era and reflecting on what this divorce has done to her head and how she's not where she thought she'd be. In this song, she is telling Loretta Lynn now she understands the songs that she was singing because she's kind of gone through something. I think the song's really beautiful. It's kind of a love letter to country music as much as it still is grieving this kind of weird time in her life. Totally beautiful, big yeehaw. Hardy dropped a cover of Puddle of Mud's Blurry.
Can you take it all the way? Can you take it all the way?
I really don't know what the point of this cover was, if this is supposed to be a single, if he's just trying to signal, hey, I want to make more straightforward rock music, if it was just like kind of a fun thing to do during quarantine, but man, I wish I liked it more. I mean, Hardy has become one of my kind of kings lately. I still listen to his album all the time, but the production on this did not feel as raw as the production on something like Unapologetically Country as Hell or on the original song Blurry. I feel like something feels kind of processed about this one. And I think what it is it just seems like it's missing like the bassier end of his voice and just of the music. I feel like you start in this way more stark, deep place on Puddle of Mud's version. And this one always feels kind of like high. It's like a light nah. Like, not a harsh one. There's probably a whole new generation of Hardy fans that had never heard the original Puddle of Mud song, and for them it's just badass. But maybe because I grew up with it, I'm playing the comparison game. And finally, we got Morgan Wallen with his song Thought You Should Know, which he debuted on Instagram over the weekend.
Thought you should know that all those prayers you thought you wasted on me.
This is the first new music he has released since his last album and since the scandal that took him off radio, and this is one that he co-wrote with Miranda Lambert and Nicole Gallion. And it was crazy to me that he wrote this with Miranda Lambert, because the first time I heard it, I was like, this reminds me so much of Miranda Lambert's song What About Georgia from her first record, where she is this concerned onlooker writing to a guy being like, your life is a mess and your mom's at home praying for you, so what about Georgia? You know, think of her. And this is almost the flipped perspective of that, where you're in that guy's shoes realizing I'm being a disappointment to my parents. And I think part of what makes this song interesting is that it's like not that intimate. He keeps trying to share things with his mom and then just being like, thought you should know. But that kind of push me, pull me of intimacy is kind of what makes it good. Morgan's voice just sounds stellar on it. I think people that are saying, oh, this is all about kind of a full new era for Morgan Wallen are maybe reading too much into the song and reading stuff that's not there. The only kind of addressing you get of kind of reckless behavior is right there in those first couple lines, but nonetheless, just as a standalone song about a guy that was doing badly and is now doing a little better, it's a beautiful track. So I give this one a yeehaw. So that's it. I'm sure I missed something in the recording of this video. I saw just like even literally while prepping to record, I'm like, oh crap, Yola's putting out a new song. Upchurch just dropped another song that I haven't heard yet. I'm sure even while just sitting here, there's been like 3 more songs released, because that's just what people do now. It's a constant stream of new songs. I'm as caught up as I can be right now. My next couple videos are not going to be reviews. I know y'all want me to cover the Alan Jackson album. I'll get there. Maybe. You know, I don't want to make any promises that I'm not going to keep. No, I'm obviously going to listen to it, but I don't want to get into a cycle where I'm just constantly just chasing, covering what's coming next. I like sort of planning things, making video essays. That stuff makes me feel way happier than just trying to keep up. So be patient with me and give this video a like if you liked it. Let me know your thoughts on your favorite songs. And that's it. Bye, guys.